Hi, my name is Raphael. I'm running for Oakland City Council District 1. That's the North Oakland, Temescal, Rockridge, Mosswood, the Rose Garden. Goes all the way down to Emeryville and over to Berkeley. Does a dog leg around Piedmont and includes that whole area of the Rose Garden that is below Grand Avenue and stops at MacArthur. Okay. What I do when I meet people for the first time is I ask them, do you think the mayor's doing a good job? Now, it's not the same as asking, do you think the mayor should be recalled? Completely different question. If people say, hey, they think the mayor's doing a good job, I go like this: I am not your guy. Don't take my card or recycle it or throw it away, because I am not your guy, because your guy is the firefighter president who I'm running against. He helped get us the mayor. He knocked on doors. He had his firefighters knocked on doors. He collected a whole bunch of money to help her win by 670 some odd ranked choice votes. And he endorsed her. She in turn is endorsing him. However, he never mentions that to people, or I wouldn't be out here campaigning, because she is so incredibly unpopular. He is on record, though, when asked at some of these forums, he opposes her recall. He also opposes the recall of the DA, and not because he opposes all recalls. He actually made that pretty clear, but he opposes their recalls. I, on the other hand, was one of the early organizers of the recall of the DA, and I'm also a late organizer of the recall of the mayor. I'm proud to say I'm one of the recipients of the subpoena from the Public Ethics Commission, which I would have to say is frivolous. I could use another phrase which a certain carrot-headed guy uses, who I detest, but I won't use that phrase here. So that is sort of a clear-cut difference. My platform is both crime-oriented and fiscal-oriented. The crime part of it is double the number of cops from 600 to 1,200 with strict accountability and better management. Change the pursuit policies to what we currently have to give discretion to police with proper training to pursue criminals who they know have committed something, but didn't use violence. They should still be allowed to pursue under certain safe circumstances. Right now, that's absolutely forbidden unless violence or a gun was used. San Francisco has recently passed a charter amendment doing that same thing. The other thing I would do is make sure we had enough police so that they were community-based. And to reach, in other words, you don't keep moving them around like Whack-the-Mole or the Keystone Cops. So we get to know the good cops and the bad cops, and they get to know us. Okay? It's going to take a while to get up to that number. I would go for early on reaching out to kids in Oakland public high schools and junior highs, mentoring them, providing after-school programs, and encouraging them to train and get the education necessary to become Oakland police. I think we could attract a lot of them, and I think that would be the way to reach that goal. So the other part then there's two other parts of my platform. One of them is on homeless. I fully support Newsom's recommendation. In fact, it's more than a recommendation. I would say that we move all the homeless off of all public spaces, not just parks, not just areas near schools, but sidewalks also near retail and residential areas. I would find and rent, if we don't have them, vacant lots away from residential areas, retail stores, build what's called transitional housing on there. That's a cross speed, that's much better than tents, but much cheaper than permanent housing. And do that. In the long run, we can't solve, even in the midterm, we can't solve the homeless problem, and we shouldn't even try. We should, well, because it is way too big of a problem for any city to do, let alone Oakland. That has to be solved at a federal and state level, and to some extent a county level. I'd advocate for that, but I certainly wouldn't have us spending $800,000 or $900,000 per unit to build a relatively small number of low-income housing units when we have so many homeless, and only more people will come if we're the only ones building them. Okay? So the other part of my platform very much has to do with my CPA training and my background for years now, since easily 2014 when I ran for city auditor. When I ran for city auditor, one of my platforms items was to start a public discussion on how to set the money aside to pay for the underfunded retirement obligations we had to all our city employees. My point was, we don't want to have 10 years later, when all the baby boomers start retiring, that all of a sudden we have to cut vital services because we don't have the money set aside to pay them. Well, sure enough, that's exactly what's happened. Okay, in case you might have heard, we have, quote, a structural deficit. A big part of that has to do with underfunded pension and other retirement obligations, such as medical. When I ran for city auditor back then, I was endorsed by the local Democrats. However, when I went before the police union, they said, no way are we going to let you in there. You're a strict police accountability advocate. There's no way we're going to let you in there. I went before the firefighters and they said, no way are we going to let you in there. Not because of police accountability. They were fine with that. They said, no, we don't want anyone to start a discussion about how to fund those retirement obligations 1 second before they have to be paid, because the voters will go crazy and the politicians will hate us. I said, hey, aren't you concerned about not getting paid? And they said, no, not at all. You have to pay us. And they said, have a nice day. We're not letting you in there. Okay, so here we are 10 years later. Pretty much, it was obvious what was going to happen, and sure enough, it's happening. I'm running against the president of the firefighters union. He was actually on the board at that time. Okay, so here we are, and another clear-cut part there is that the person I'm running against is not only endorsed by all the incumbents, but he's helping many of the wannabe police defunders, such as Carol Fife and Nikki Bass, in their campaigns too. So there you got it. Okay, Len Raphael, CPA. Thanks for listening.